So let's get started with a quick round of questions. Juhi asked me in the last class that if I could just put those questions on screen. So I've tried to do this in today's class. Let's get started with question number 1, which is revocation is an option to stop the contract from coming into existence. This is available to. Options are right in front of you. A, proposer only. B, acceptor only. C, both proposer and acceptor. And D, none of the above.
A.
A, proposer only. Revocation is an option. Who gave answer A? Soumya, I think. Monica and Soumya. Simran says C. The correct answer to this question is C, both proposer and acceptor. See, that's why reading the Bare Act becomes very important. अब मैं बताती हूँ आप लोग confuse कहाँ पर हुए हो यहाँ पे. कल हमने clause, yes Kaveri, you also right. कल हमने section 6 पढ़ा, which is talking about revocation, how is made. Now it is saying a proposal is revoked. Point 1 is definitely talking about notice, that it can be revoked at the option of the proposer by giving a notice to the other party. But take a look at point B. It is talking about lapse of time. Point C, it's talking about condition precedent. तो ये तो acceptor भी कर सकता है ना, acceptor revoke कर सकता है proposal को by not fulfilling these two terms. That is why the answer to this question would be C, that is both proposer and acceptor. Moving forward, your next question is, which of the following is a mode of revocation of proposal? Very simple question. A, notice. B, time. C, death. D.
D.
Someone, सबसे पहले chat आया था, so Monica gets it.
D.
The answer is D. Yes, Kaveri also, I think. Okay, काफी लोगों ने chat किया था. Okay, next question. The communication of revocation is complete as against the person who makes it, that is the proposer. A, when it is put in the course of transmission to the person to whom it is made. B, when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. C, when the revocation is made known to the person to whom it is made. And D, none of the above. The answer is A. Yes, the answer is A, when it is put in the course of transmission. You know, now both Simran and Ankur have given the right answer. Raju, you missed the point here a bit. ध्यान से पढ़ो क्वेश्चन को, और ये आपके जुडिशरी प्रीलिम्स में बहुत ज्यादा होगा. एंड दीज आर द काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस व्हिच गिव्स यू अ हिंट. कई लोग होते हैं ना जो बोलते हैं हमने कुछ पढ़ा नहीं और हमारा क्लियर हो गया, उनका ऐसे होता है क्योंकि वो ऐसे क्वेश्चंस को बहुत अच्छे से आइडेंटिफाई कर पाते हैं. ऑप्शंस बी और सी को देखो, दे आर वेरी सिमिलर. यू कैन जस्ट एलिमिनेट दीज ऑप्शंस बिकॉज ऑफ देयर सिमिलैरिटी. तो बचा क्या, ऑप्शन ए या ऑप्शन डी. अब इसके अंदर से जो आपने पढ़ा है, जो आप अपनी, अगर लेट्स से वी आर यूजिंग वेरी लिमिटेड नॉलेज आल्सो हियर, so your limited knowledge would directly indicate you for answer A to be the perfect answer here. So elimination method is one of those things which we use very frequently so far as multiple choice questions is concerned, and this was a perfect example of the same. Your next question is, A proposes a letter sent by post to sell his house to B. B accepts the proposal by a letter sent by post to A. A may revoke his proposal when A, at any time. B, at any time after posting the letter of acceptance by B. C, at any time or at the moment when B posts his letter of acceptance. And D, at any time but before the letter containing acceptance reaches B. Okay, everyone has answer C here. Yes, that's the correct answer. Simran is saying D, that is at any time before the letter containing acceptance reaches B. Nay, the moment it has been posted, that is when it would be considered that the revocation has taken place. Okay, एक और थोड़ा सा confusing question. A, in an offer to sell a property, gave B the right to accept within 14 days. The next day at about 3:50 p.m., B sent by post his letter of acceptance, which was received by A's office at 8:30 p.m. But before that, at about 1 p.m., A had posted a letter revoking his offer. The revocation and the acceptance crossed in the course of post. B received the letter of revocation at 5:30 p.m. Your options are A, revocation has been effectively made. B, revocation has not been effectively made. C, it is a case of cross offer, so no contract can come into existence. D, none of the above. Okay, Simran is saying A, Ankur is saying B. The correct answer is, एक और आंसर आया है मुझे. The correct answer is B, revocation has not been effectively made. Again, ये बहुत confusing questions हैं, and that is why I'm taking their multiple choice questions, literally copy pasting them. Let me confess here, I have absolutely no copyright over these questions. I have not made them. They've been picked up from various books. But the answer to this question would be that revocation has not been effectively made. See, वो revocations cross कर रही थी post के अंदर. वो revocation उसको तब पहुंची जब जिससे पहले उसको acceptance already पहुंच चुकी थी. He had already received the letter of acceptance, and effective acceptance had taken place already before revocation could have happened. And that is why the answer of this question would be, as Ankur very rightly pointed out, revocation has not been effectively made. Now let's look at question 6, which says B accepts. Okay, this should have been proposal. I hope अब मैंने point कर ही दिया तो आप देख रहे हो कि एक typo हुआ है यहाँ पे. Your question is, B accepts the proposal of A by posting letter of acceptance to A. The above acceptance, A, cannot be revoked by B as he has already accepted the offer and dropped the letter of acceptance. B can be revoked by B as soon as the letter of acceptance reaches A. C can be revoked by B before the letter of acceptance reaches A. And D can be revoked by B at any time after the letter of acceptance reaches A. So clear answer. I think Pragya gave it first here. The answer is C. Yes, all of us are on the same page with respect to it. The correct answer is C. Can be revoked by B before the letter of acceptance reaches A. So yes, these were the questions so far as your sample questions were concerned. Now let's get started with the class for today. So in our last class, we ended on section 6 with a note of when we were considering death or insanity of the proposer or the offerer, so far as whether that can amount, whether a valid acceptance can take place if the death or insanity has taken place so far as the proposer is concerned. इसके अंदर हमने एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट पे जिस पे फोकस किया था वो था नॉलेज ऑफ द एक्सेप्टर. Now, knowledge of the acceptor is one element which we specifically cover in context of knowledge of the offer, जो कि crux है आपके section 8 of the Indian Contract Act का. But I think we should be linking section 7, 8 and 9 together. We have already covered what section 7 says, and we have covered it quite in detail through a course of one lecture. I think ये lecture हुआ था अंकुर, कावेरी and राजू and महिम के join करने से एक lecture पहले. तो आप please you make sure that you're covering this section 7 related lecture. But let's just quickly revise it once before we move on to section 8 and 9. So section 7 talks about the mirror rule, right? It talks about like offer and like acceptance. This section literally speaks, I'll just reiterate the section here. I think आप लोग juris class में बहुत बोल लेते हो, तो मुझे काफी मौका मिल जाता है contracts class में बोलने का. So I'll read section 7 here until your turn comes to read any other section. Section 7 talks about acceptance must be absolute. It says, in order to convert a proposal into a promise, the acceptance must 1. Be absolute and unqualified. 2. Be expressed in some usual and reasonable manner unless the proposal prescribes the manner in which it is to be accepted. If the proposal prescribes a manner in which it is to be accepted and the acceptance is not made in such manner, the proposer may, within a reasonable time, after the acceptance is communicated to him, insist that his proposal shall be accepted in the prescribed manner and not otherwise. But if he fails to do so, he accepts the acceptance. अब इस पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन में हमने एक बात को बहुत डिटेल में डिस्कस किया था, that there is a very thin line of difference between the English law and the Indian law. So far as the Indian law is concerned, and when it comes to the prescribed mode of acceptance to make it into a promise, we are flexible in terms of कि अगर आप prescribed mode नहीं भी follow करते हो तो हम आपको एक reasonable time दे देते हैं कि आप prescribed mode में एक particular acceptance को follow करो, और अगर आप तब नहीं करते हो तब हम उसे एक valid acceptance नहीं मानेंगे, which is not the case with the English law at all. हमने वेगन माउंट केस देखा था जिसमें हमने देखा था कि उन्होंने कहा कि acceptance जो है वो by post नहीं होनी चाहिए, it should be by some other mode, and the acceptance was made by post because it was considered to be a faster mode of acceptance. Still it was not considered to be a valid acceptance, though उसका भी criticism further चिटी और चेशायर और विनफील्ड ने अपनी explanations में दिया. So now coming back to section 7, we see that there are 4 main important essential elements of acceptance, of a valid acceptance under section 7. One is that it should definitely be communicated by the offeree to the offerer, that is by the acceptor to the offerer. सेकेंड इज इट शुड डेफिनेटली बी एब्सोल्यूट एंड अनक्वालिफाइड. तो वो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपने अपने ड्रॉर में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रख दिया है या फिर आपने जो प्रिस्क्राइब्ड मोड है उससे बहुत ही अलग मोड फॉलो किया है या फिर आपने उस इंडिविजुअल को एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं दी है जिसने आपको ऑफर दिया था, आपने किसी थर्ड पार्टी को दे दिया. नो, all these things are not supposed to be followed. It has to be absolute and unqualified. It has to follow the mirror image rule, or literally what I mentioned in yesterday's class, that it literally has to follow the concept of meeting of minds or consensus ad idem, that is to the same thing in the same sense. Now this is something, these concepts are something which we use in the Indian Contract Act in different fashions in different places. However, still whatever said and done, these concepts literally fall or form the soul of the Indian Contract Act. The third element is that it should be made in some reasonable and usual manner. That is, unless the proposal prescribes a particular manner, it has to be in a reasonable manner, right? Again, the standard of a reasonable man, as was being displayed in section 6, is also there in section 7. And finally, the fourth element talks about it should be made while the offer is still subsisting. So I'll just repeat these 4 points here clearly again. 1, it should be communicated by the offeree to the offerer. Second, it should be absolute and unqualified. Third, it should be made in some reasonable and usual. It should be made in some reasonable and usual manner. And finally, fourth, it should be made while the offer is still subsisting. Now friends, let's come on to section 8 and 9. These are those 2 sections जो बहुत बार लोग touch नहीं करते हैं, because again it becomes very difficult to connect these sections. But when you come to the definition of contract, remember, and we are going to come to the basis of a contractual obligation today itself. But when we consider a contract, हम ये पहले भी अपनी पहली क्लास में भी देख चुके हैं कि कहीं पे ये नहीं लिखा हुआ है that a contract has to be written. It can be written, it can be oral. That is the implied meaning of the term contract that we see. However, even though in the entire Contract Act, the term oral has nowhere been mentioned, still acceptance by conduct and implied acceptance has been mentioned in the Indian Contract Act, which gives rise to an implied contract or a contract by conduct, right? So where section 7 talks about unconditional and unqualified acceptance, section 8 talks about acceptance by conduct, and section 9 talks about acceptance expressed और implied. आपको ये तीनों sections को इन्हीं तीन manners के अंदर literally याद कर लेना है. That again, unconditional and unqualified acceptance, जो कि एक written contract का बहुत ही important characteristic माना जाता है, हमें section 7 में दिया गया है. सेक्शन 8 में हमें बताया गया है कि एक्सेप्टेंस जो है वो बाय कंडक्ट भी हो सकती है, और उसी का एक क्रोलरी आप कह सकते हो या उसी का एक स्ट्रेच या एक्सटेंशन आप कह सकते हो सेक्शन 9 है, व्हिच इज सेइंग दैट एक्सेप्टेंस कैन बी ईदर एक्सप्रेस्ड और implied. Now I've already told you that this term knowledge of the offer is the crux so far as section 8 is concerned. Let me bring on my flowchart to section 8. Yes, here it is. Now can we say that an offer cannot be accepted unless and until it has been brought to the knowledge of the person to whom it has been made? अब मैंने आपको कल बताया था कि सेक्शन 8 और सेक्शन 6 का जो लास्ट पार्ट है वो बहुत ही इंटरकनेक्टेड है. वो नॉलेज ऑफ द एक्सेप्टर वर्ड ही इसलिए यूज किया गया है क्योंकि नॉलेज ऑफ द ऑफर के बिना तो एक्सेप्टेंस हो ही नहीं सकती है, एंड सिमिलरली नॉलेज ऑफ द एक्सेप्टर के बिना एक ऑफर को रिवोक भी नहीं किया जा सकता है. So when we say that an acceptance cannot be made unless and until a person does not have the knowledge of the offer, it is very appropriate so far as section 8 is concerned. Now in order to constitute a contract, there must be an acceptance of an offer. There cannot be an acceptance unless and until there is a knowledge of that offer. There's a very landmark case to explain this particular concept, which is the case of Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt. अब इसके ऊपर जिन लोगों ने यहाँ पे क्लैट दिया है, बहुत ही अच्छा इलस्ट्रेशन इसके ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा आता है. इट इज यूजली इन रिलेशन टू अ डॉग, दैट लेट्स से you've lost your dog and your servant finds it and you give a reward to that person and all of those things. But तो ये particular example ऐसा है जिसे बहुत बार mold किया जाता है different examples में. But the fact of this particular case is that an individual, he lost his nephew. Can we conclude? Section 8 is acceptance in cases of general offers. Yes, प्रज्ञा, इसीलिए ये मैंने कार्लिल वर्सेस कार्बोलिक स्मोक बॉल इतना बड़ा बड़ा लिखा है, जो कि जनरल ऑफर्स का लिटरली एपिटमी माना जाता है. सो हाँ, यू आर वेरी राइट व्हेन यू आर सेइंग दैट. बट लेट्स मूव स्टेप बाय स्टेप. तो हम चलते हैं धीरे धीरे जनरल ऑफर्स की तरफ भी. बट येस, यू आर वेरी राइट दैट इट्स लिटरली द बेसिस ऑफ जनरल ऑफर्स. Right? So but before discussing general offers per se, which we have in terms of Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball, हम एक बार knowledge of the offer के through चलते हैं. Right? So the facts of Lalman Shukla versus, also guys, please tell me if I'm too fast. I have this habit of speeding up. I'll slow down if need be. In the case of Lalman Shukla versus Gaurida, what had happened was that this individual had lost his nephew and he had ordered his servant to go and look for that nephew. While the servant was on his lookout, this person also sort of sent in published bills and sent across a message that whosoever finds this boy, he would be awarded an award of rupees 501, which was a really big award at that point of time. Now, the servant had absolutely no knowledge of this particular offer being made or this message being publicized. Irrespective of that, he found the boy and brought him home. Now, the question that arose was whether the servant is entitled to this award of rupees 501 or not. The court, Justice Banerjee particularly, who is known for this judgment, said that no, just because he had absolutely no knowledge of the offer, a valid acceptance cannot take place, right? Now, this particular instance, however, was criticized in English law. It was said कि जहां पर एक रिवॉर्ड दिया जा रहा है, वहां पर आपको नॉलेज ऑफ द ऑफर के एलिमेंट को अंदर लाना ही नहीं चाहिए, बिकॉज it is giving rise to per se a unilateral contract, and probably if there is performance in accordance with the offer, even without the intention or motive to claim that reward, then even in that case the reward should be given. So this was more in terms of an equitable decision that was given. However, the law still sticks on the point that where an valid acceptance has to be made, the knowledge of the offer definitely has to be there. और इसको हम बहुत ही deeply read in करते हैं अपने sections 6, 7, 8, 9 के अंदर, जो हमें implicitly ये बताता है that knowledge of the offer definitely has to be there. Now, there was another case of R versus Clark, where the court generally held that a person who forgot about the offer after accepting was considered to be in no better position than a person who never heard of it. So let's say this person found the boy, brought him home, knew about the offer of 500 rupees, but forgot to claim it. और उसके बाद उसको 5-6 साल बाद याद आता है कि मुझे ऐसा कुछ ऑफर क्लेम करना था. तो क्रिमिनल लॉ तो ये है नहीं, सिविल लॉ है, लिमिटेशन अप्लाई होगा, सब अप्लाई होगा, एंड ही वुड नॉट बी अलाउड टू रिक्लेम दिस ऑफर बिकॉज ही कंप्लीटली फॉरगॉट अबाउट हिम it, and it would be brought to the same position as if he had absolutely no knowledge of the offer. Now, the reason why I'm just at times reading out or reiterating the ratios of these cases are because आपके exams में इन cases को as it is quote करके पूछ लिया जाता है. We have, if you take a look at your LMS, हमने contracts के section में एक document upload किया है, revision of cases relating to offers. Again, friends, जो भी लोग इस साल एग्जाम लिख रहे हैं, प्लीज उस लिस्ट को रट्टा मार लो, आपके प्रीलिम्स और आपके मेंस के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. Unfortunately, the judiciary exam entails certain memorization. So we've given you a list there. Please make sure that you remember it, and it will be very helpful for last minute revision as well, so far as the cases on the concepts of offer is concerned. So let's quickly go through section 8 of the Indian Contract Act before we move forward in context of general offers per se. Can we have Sukriti reading section 8?
Yes, ma'am. Section 8. Acceptance by performing conditions or receiving consideration. Performance of the conditions of a proposal or the acceptance of any consideration for a reciprocal promise which may be offered with a proposal is an acceptance of the proposal.
Great. So Now, dividing this particular section into various parts, we see that it talks about performance of conditions of a proposal. It also talks about acceptance of consideration for a reciprocal promise. यहाँ पर सिर्फ अगर हम यहाँ रुक जाएं तो ये दो वर्ड्स जो हैं, ये जो डिविजन्स हैं दो, ये हमें दो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट्स के बारे में बताते हैं, विच इज यूनिलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एज वेल एज बायलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. आई अंडरस्टैंड अगेन एंड आई वुड पुट अप माई केवियट कि अभी हम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स की डोमेन में नहीं पहुंचे हैं, फिर भी ये इन दो कॉन्सेप्ट्स को रिफ्लेक्ट करता है क्योंकि. तो लेट्स जस्ट हैव अ वेरी ब्रीफ डिस्कशन ऑन द डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन अ यूनिलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंड अ बायलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. Pragya, you're right that this particular section definitely reflects general offers. But when you look at the element of consideration for a reciprocal promise here, then we can't entirely say that this section is only about general offers or unilateral contracts. It is also equally mentioning bilateral contracts. So can
Update.
Yes, bolo. Someone was saying something?
I was saying that I agree with your point.
So can we have a little discussion over what are unilateral and bilateral contracts and what are the differences between them? Anyone? Before we move on to acceptance by conduct per se, anyone wants to tell the differences between unilateral and bilateral contracts?
मैम
एक एग्जांपल तो मैंने आपको दे ही दिया कि जनरल ऑफर्स इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ अ यूनिलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. यस, वी हैव समवन स्पीकिंग.
मैम शायद यूनिलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एक पार्टी जो होती है वो अपनी ऑब्लिगेशंस पूरी कर चुकी होती है, दूसरी पार्टी को करनी होती है. बायलैटरल में दोनों कर चुके होते हैं.
गुड. सो हम इससे हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि in a unilateral contract definitely one party is obliged to honor the agreement, but the second party is entitled to honor the agreement only if it is fulfilling the terms of that agreement, whereas in a bilateral contract both the parties have an equal obligation at the same time. Very well. और कोई point? जनरल ऑफर से ही आप सारे यूनिलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के पॉइंट्स निकाल सकते हो. मैंने आपको बहुत बड़ा हिंट दे दिया है. सोचो, काइंड्स ऑफ कंसिडरेशंस के बारे में सोचो. ऑब्लिगेशंस अगर हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं तो कंसिडरेशंस कैसी होंगी यूनिलैटरल और बायलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, या फिर टाइम पीरियड कैसे वेरी करेगा यूनिलैटरल और बायलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में. ओके, देयर इज अ चैट. Reciprocal promises are an example of bilateral contracts. Yes, they are. Anything else? Would you like to specify a bit more about this? How are the examples of bilateral contracts?
Ma'am, for example, that you said that consideration in forms of consideration. So consideration need not be only in monetary form. So if I say to you that I'll give you my watch and you promise me to pay something in return. So it is a reciprocal promise that I am promising to give you my watch and you are promising something in return, a favor in return that is not in monetary form. So
Right.
this is an example of reciprocal promise, and this is also an example of bilateral contracts.
Perfect. That's a good example.
Where acceptance on both sides is required.
Great. Or कोई difference? Maybe in terms of time period, if you could come out with a difference.
Ma'am, maybe in unilateral contracts, the time period it is specified by single party, and that party has a heavy hand on with respect to the other party. While in bilateral contracts, both the parties are at par with one another, and they can sit together and decide the time limits of the terms of contract.
Exactly. So in a bilateral contract, a time period is definitely very well defined, whereas in case of a unilateral contract, it is slightly a flexible concept. जैसे अगर आप कार्लिल वर्सेस कार्बोलिक स्मोकबॉल को देखो तो वो ऑफर तो उन्होंने एक जनरल ऑफर की तरह निकाल दिया, बट जब तक वो उन स्मोक बॉल्स को कोई कंज्यूम नहीं करता और उसको इन्फ्लुएंजा नहीं होता, तब तक वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की जो वैलिडिटी है वो रहती, unless they would have specifically, unless that one party would have specifically mentioned about the timeline of the contract. Right? So yes, so these were the differences between unilateral and bilateral contract. Now in terms of unilateral contract or open offers or general offers, we have this landmark case which we have already discussed. But so far as bilateral contract or reciprocal promises are concerned, can a contract take place by conduct is one of those things which was very well sort of discussed in the case of Brogdon versus Metropolitan Railway Company Limited. पर इस केस के फैक्ट्स पे जाने से पहले हम इसको एक बहुत ही ब्रीफली, बहुत ही फंडामेंटल वे में समझते हैं. Let's say I tell Pragya that Pragya, if you're going to write this article for me, which can be published on the blog, I am going to pay you 1500 to 2000 rupees. I also tell her we are soon going to enter into a contract with regard to it because it's very important that terms are on paper. नहीं तो बाद में बहुत confusion होता है. पर आप एक काम करो, आप article लिखना शुरू कर दो. Then subsequently I got very busy and we never entered into a formal contract. I think Pragya would very well relate to it क्योंकि ये हमारे साथ आजकल बहुत हो रहा है. So we are not able to enter into a formal contract. और इससे पहले कि मैं उसे contract भेज सकती और वो sign करके मुझे वापस दे देती, प्रज्ञा ने वो आर्टिकल लिखकर मेरे ईमेल इनबॉक्स में डाल दिया और उसके अंदर कोई मिस्टेक नहीं है, मैंने उसको पब्लिशिंग के लिए भेज दिया है. So am I entitled, is Pragya entitled to those 1500 to 2000 rupees for that particular article if I have published it, but no contract has been signed between us?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
By?
By conduct, the contract can be.
So acceptance तो एक तरह से by conduct हो गई ना. प्रज्ञा ने तो मुझे ईमेल भेज दिया, मैंने वो आर्टिकल पब्लिश भी कर दिया. अब प्रज्ञा को उसकी कंसिडरेशन मिलनी चाहिए, मतलब समथिंग फॉर समथिंग यहाँ पर है. तो आर्टिकल अगर मुझे मिल गया, आई शुड डेफिनेटली पे हर द अमाउंट फॉर द सेम, irrespective of the fact that a formal contract has been entered into or not. So in this context, let's consider this case of this landmark case of acceptance by conduct, which is the case of Brogdon versus Metropolitan Railway Company. इस केस में क्या हुआ that the two parties were already into business transactions for a very long time on an informal basis. अब इतनी देर से वो business transactions में enter कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने सोचा चलो एक formal contract ही sign कर लेते हैं. Now this complainant, which was Brogdon in this case, उन्होंने एक कच्चा पक्का सा agreement बनाकर Metropolitan Railway Company को दिया. उन्होंने कहा कि इसके अंदर जो भी amendments करने वाली हैं आप अपने behalf पे कर लीजिए. सॉरी, द ऑपोजिट, मेट्रोपॉलिटन कंपनी ने ब्रॉगडन को कुछ बना के दिया. ब्रॉगडन ने अपनी जो अमेंडमेंट्स थी उसके अंदर वो डाल दी और मेट्रोपॉलिटन रेलवे कंपनी को ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, ये फिल्ड फुल पूरा कंप्लीटेड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रेलवे मेट्रोपॉलिटन रेलवे कंपनी को दे दिया. नाउ मेट्रोपॉलिटन रेलवे कंपनी वाज नॉट एंटायरली in of whatever changes that have been made, and in that respect it made like certain amendments in this contract but never communicated the same to Brogdon verbally or in the form of this rectified contract, and rather kept it with themselves. उसको उन्होंने वहां पर ही बंद कर दिया और अपने पास. Please write the name of the case. It is, can I write it in the chat only? It's Brogdon versus Metropolitan Railway Company. It's a very landmark case. ये इस पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन का कार्लिल कार्बोलिक स्मोक बॉल के अलावा एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट केस माना जाता है एक्सेप्टेंस कॉन्डक्ट के रिलेशन में. सो या, कमिंग बैक टू द फैक्ट दैट they made the changes and they kept the contract with themselves without communicating these changed conditions to Brogdon. But इसके बाद जितनी भी transactions उनके बीच में हो रही थी, they were on the basis of the changes that were made by the railway company, and Brogdon was going in line with these particular changes and not the changes that it had originally suggested. Right? So obviously there were discrepancies and the case went to the court of law. In the court, it was decided कि Brogdon ने जब वो changed terms को मान लिया तो उनकी तरफ से acceptance by conduct हो गया, and even if that contract was not communicated to Brogdon, still because it is an acceptance by conduct, it will be considered to be a valid acceptance in terms of that contract. Are we all in clarity so far as this particular case is concerned? You can raise your hand. That works.
Yes,
Okay. Great. So then let's move on to another case, which is the case of Hindustan. मैं screen share ही खोल लेती हूँ. I'll type it out. Second. The next is the case of Hindustan Cooperation or Insurance Society versus श्याम सुंदर. ये केसेस के नाम आपके एग्जाम के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. अगर आप हिमाचल जुडिशरी या दिल्ली जुडिशरी दे रहे हैं जिनमें केस लॉज बहुत पूछे जाते हैं, These you have to literally remember the names of these cases. इसका citation है AR 1952, Calcutta High Court का ये case है 69. AR 1952, Cal 69. You don't have to remember the citation, but just remember the name. Hindustan Cooperative Limited, Hindustan Cooperative Insurance Society versus Shyam Sundar. Now इस केस में क्या हुआ कि आप अगर आपने इंश्योरेंस का प्रोसीजर देखा है तो आप देखेंगे कुछ प्रिलिमिनरी चेकअप्स होते हैं. उसके बाद the company informs the proposer that they have to submit a particular proposal form and a premium, and based on it the insurance contract comes into existence. तो इस केस में भी कुछ ऐसा हुआ that the preliminaries were conducted. The company informed the proposer that if he submits the proposal and half yearly premium, his proposal would be accepted. The person did the same, but subsequently it so happened that the proposer did the same. The company cashed his check, but subsequently it so happened that the company was not able to reply. The same thing, जो प्रज्ञा और मेरा example, कि प्रज्ञा ने article लिखना शुरू कर दिया, but for some reason I was not able to frame that contract because of but the finished article came into my inbox and I sent it for publishing and it got published, right? तो यहाँ पर भी company का जो check है वो in cash हो गया, and जो company थी उन्होंने अभी तक फिर भी acceptance को reply नहीं किया था. They hadn't moved forward with saying that your insurance has been approved, but all other formalities in terms of conduct had taken place. The proposer subsequently died. Now it was held in this case that encashment of the check is a sufficient acceptance so far as acceptance by conduct under section 8 is concerned, because of which the person, whosoever is the nominee of this person, would get the benefit of the insurance, right? But इसी का एक subsequent, इन्हीं similar facts पे एक subsequent case था, which was LIC of India versus Raja Vasi Reddy. Now in this case, the insurer had received the proposal form along with the first premium and it was still awaiting acceptance. So remember the fact difference between the two, जहां पर एक जगह पे encashment of check हो चुका था, दूसरी जगह पर उन्होंने पहला प्रीमियम दे दिया था, but it was still subject to acceptance. अभी तक एक valid contract का किसी भी फॉर्म में acceptance या एक valid promise का acceptance किसी भी फॉर्म में नहीं activate हुआ था. इस केस में भी यही हुआ that subsequently the proposer died, but the court in this particular case held that there was absolutely no liability to pay. Why? Because the company was still preparing the formation of a valid contract. It was still on the stage of acceptance itself, where no valid acceptance had taken place in any form until now. सिर्फ उन्होंने वो पैसे लेकर रख लिए थे, उन्होंने इससे ज्यादा उस पर कुछ काम नहीं किया था, उन्होंने इससे ज्यादा उसे कुछ कह सकते हैं कि किसी भी फॉर्मेट में फ्रक्टिफाई नहीं किया था उस एक्सेप्टेंस को, एंड दैट इज व्हाई इट वाज नॉट कंसिडर्ड टू बी a valid acceptance. Now, so far as section 8 is concerned, a traditional stance on this is that an offerer can dispense with notification of acceptance only in cases of unilateral contracts as opposed to bilateral contracts. तो प्रज्ञा जो तुमने बहुत rightly mention किया कि section 8 general offers से deal करता है, वो हम एक traditional stance के केस में लेकर चलते हैं. Having said that, there are enough and more examples of how and why it does not per se apply to unilateral contracts only, because the section itself has an element of bilateral contracts in it. Yes, Pragya?
Agreed.
Great. Good. Okay. So then next, let's come to section 9. Can we have anyone reading section 9, जो कि acceptance by conduct के अलावा express और implied promises की बात करता है. So can someone read section 9? Let's have Mahim reading it. Okay, sorry Pragya. Let's see if Mahim can read it. Yeah.
Section 9, promises express and implied. Insofar as the proposal or acceptance of any promise is made in words, the promise is said to be express. Insofar as such proposal or acceptance is made otherwise than in words, the promise is said to be implied.
So the same thing here again. Section 9 is literally a corollary or an extension of both section 7 and 8. Why? Because you will divide this section in two parts and realize the same. सेक्शन 9 का पहला पार्ट डील करता है मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली सेक्शन 7 के साथ, जो कि प्रिस्क्राइब्ड मैनर की बात करता है. It says, in so far as the proposal or acceptance of any promise is made in words, this promise is said to be express. तो आपको एक express promise की standard definition first part में मिल जाती है section 9 के. If you are underlining something, just underline two words, words and express, right? The second part of section 9 talks about what happens when such a contract or when such a promise is not made in words. So it says, insofar as such proposal or acceptance is made otherwise. Now see, इन्होंने orally term नहीं use किया है. Usually हमें prelims में question आता है, a contract can be written, oral, both above, none of the above. तो हमारा एक जनरल परसेप्शन रहता है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दो ही तरीकों से पूरा हो सकता है, या बाय वर्ड्स या ओरली. बट नहीं, इन्होंने एक ब्रॉडर टर्म यूज किया है. दे हैव यूज्ड द टर्म मे अदरवाइज. प्लीज अंडरलाइन दिस इफ यू आर मेकिंग योर बैरैक्ट एज कलरफुल एज माइन इज. So made otherwise than in word. So it is not saying that a contract need to be that acceptance or promises have to be made by words or written or spoken only. They can be made otherwise as well. The promise is said to be implied. So right. So section 8 का extension है second part of section 9. Section 7 का extension है first part of section 9. अब एक्सप्रेस प्रोमिसेस तो हमें समझ आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि हम इतनी देर से वही टाइप के प्रोमिसेस देख रहे हैं कि लेटर से ये प्रोमिसेस जा रहे हैं, फिर इनकी लेटर से ही एक्सेप्टेंस हो रही है, ईमेल से भी हो रही है, फोन से भी हो रही है, सब तरीके से हो रही है. बट कॉन्डक्ट के थ्रू एक प्रॉमिस कैसे या फिर कॉन्डक्ट के थ्रू एक एक्सेप्टेंस कैसे हो सकती है? सेक्शन 9 के रिलेशन में जो लैंडमार्क केस है इन दिस रिगार्ड इज द केस ऑफ अपटन रूरल डिस्ट्रिक्ट काउंसिल वर्सेस पावेल. राइट इट. Upton Rural District Council versus Powell. Now, what happened in this case was that a fire broke out in the defendant's farm. He believed that he was entitled to the free services of this Upton Fire Brigade and therefore summoned it. उसने जैसे उसको उसके खेत में आग लगी, उसे लगा कि ये अपटन वाले तो हैं. बेसिकली उसने सोचा कि अपटन कोई प्राइवेट एजेंसी नहीं है, ये गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी है जिसका काम है आके आग बुझाना. तो उसने इमीडिएटली जो ये रूरल जो ये फायर ब्रिगेड है इनको ऑर्डर कर दिया. राइट. So the court in this case said that the defendant wanted the service of Upton Rural, this Upton company, and it's in response to this particular request, it provided the services of the same. तो यहाँ पर एक ऑफर दिया गया कि अपटन को बुलाया गया कि मेरे खेत में आग लग गई है, आ जाओ. तो अपटन जो वो फायर ब्रिगेड सर्विसेज हैं वो इमीडिएटली आ गई. एंड इसका कॉन्सिक्वेंस ये होगा कि आप कंसिडरेशन तो डेफिनेटली देनी ही पड़ेगी. क्यों? बिकॉज सर्विसेज वर रेंडर्ड ऑन एन इम्प्लाइड प्रोविजन ऑफ पेइंग फॉर देम. सो जस्ट बिकॉज दिस पर्टिकुलर डिफेंडेंट was not aware that it's not a free service does not mean that he would not be bound by the same. Why? Because the moment this fire brigade services came in and sort of extinguished the fire, it performed its part of consideration, and and then this other party was bound to fulfill his promise itself. Are we clear till these sections of the Contract Act? Any doubts still here? Great. Okay. So let's slowly venture into the domain of, and I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah. So let's just slowly venture into the domain of the contract now. That's the pathway to the contract. I was, So I was really looking forward to share this particular flowchart of mine with all of you, because मैं काफी eager थी इसको show करने में, but unfortunately in the last class I could not do so. So friends, before we venture into the various validities of a contract, let's just revise our Bare Act provision again once, right? You have to see that you literally have to read sections 2D, E, F, G and H in tandem. इन सेक्शंस को ऐसे ही रट्टा मार लो, मतलब आई एम सेइंग दिस वर्ड रट्टा मार लो बहुत ज्यादा, बट मेरा पर्पस यही है कहने का कि इसको समझ के लिटरली जस्ट एच इट इन योर मेमोरी, बिकॉज there's a logical sequence to learn these particular sections also. So let's have someone quickly reading section D, which is consideration. Pragya, you can read now. Can we have someone reading section 2D, please?
Yes, ma'am. Section 2D. When at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing, or does or abstains from doing, or promises to do or abstains from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called a consideration for the promise.
Right. अब कंसिडरेशन पे तो डेफिनेटली पूरी एक क्लास होगी, शायद एक से ज्यादा क्लास हो, बट अभी के लिए अगर हमें मोटा मोटा समझना है तो हम इस डेफिनेशन में कुछ टर्म्स अंडरलाइन कर सकते हैं, विच इज डन, अब्सटेन्ड, समथिंग, एक्ट और एब्स्टिनेंस. तो इस सेक्शन को लेकर ये आपके कीवर्ड्स हैं, डन, एब्स्टेन्ड, समथिंग, एक्ट, एब्स्टिनेंस. कैन वी हैव अंकुर रीडिंग सेक्शन 2E?
Sure, ma'am. Every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other is an agreement.
Great. So कुछ कॉमन एलिमेंट्स यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं. कैन वी हैव कावेरी रीडिंग सेक्शन 2F?
Yes. Promises which form the consideration or part of the consideration for each other are called reciprocal promises.
तो इन तीनों डेफिनेशंस में क्या आप एक कॉमन एलिमेंट निकाल सकते हैं विच इज समथिंग फॉर समथिंग, किसी के लिए कुछ करना? हम यूजुअली समथिंग फॉर समथिंग एज अ कॉमन एलिमेंट निकालते हैं कंसिडरेशन की डेफिनेशन में, पर क्या आप इन तीनों डेफिनेशंस में ये समथिंग फॉर समथिंग का कॉमन एलिमेंट निकाल सकते हो फॉर द कंसिडरेशन ऑफ ईच अदर? Again, Pragya also pointed out at the desire of the promiser to the promisee. And the third definition also, reciprocal promises on the part of the consideration for each other. ये each other वाला जो term है, ये agreement और reciprocal promises में तो बिल्कुल as it is लिखा हुआ है, but consideration की definition में ऐसे लिखा हुआ है, at the desire of the promiser or the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing something. So we see that इन 3 sections में ये एक बहुत ही common element आता है, और अभी तक लीगल एलिमेंट की कोई एंट्री नहीं की गई है यहाँ पे, जिसपे हमारा एक डिस्कशन हुआ था ऑफर और एक्सेप्टेंस की क्लास में. अभी तक कोई भी लीगल एलिमेंट नहीं डाला गया है, पर वो लीगल एलिमेंट हमें सबसे पहले मिलता है सेक्शन 2G में, वॉइड की डेफिनेशन में. सो कैन वी हैव समवन रीडिंग द डेफिनेशन ऑफ वॉइड अंडर सेक्शन 2G? यस प्रज्ञा.
An agreement not enforceable by law is said to be void.
Great. And finally, let's just have someone reading a definition of contract as well under section 2H. Let's have Monica reading it.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Raju, I saw your hand a little late. Next time maybe. Yeah.
So 2H is an agreement enforceable by law is a contract.
तो अब ये चीजें ऐसे याद रहेंगी कि समथिंग फॉर समथिंग का एलिमेंट 2G, 2D, E और F में है. लीगल एलिमेंट आ जाता है 2G और H में. समथिंग फॉर समथिंग, कंसिडरेशन, अग्रीमेंट, रेसिप्रोकल प्रॉमिस. सो फार एज लीगल एलिमेंट, G is void, H is consideration. Now, before we move on to what a contractual obligation is, I think it becomes very important to understand what do you mean by a valid obligation. हम contractual obligation को समझने से पहले अगर obligation का ही मतलब समझें तो it becomes more, things become more simpler for us to understand what exactly a valid contract would be. So far as valid obligations are concerned, can we say that certainly there have to be 2 parties involved? Minimum there have to be 2 parties involved so far as fulfilling a valid obligation is concerned. A valid obligation must definitely relate to certain very concrete acts, right? So मैं आपको बोलूं कि अंकुर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट पे जितने भी केस लॉज हैं उनका कंपेंडियम मुझे बना के दे दो. Now it's a very vague sort of obligation I'm trying to bind you into, right? And you say, okay ma'am, ठीक है, कर देते हैं. So it's very vague क्योंकि if I am not defining, मैंने आपको ये तो बोल दिया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट में जितने भी केस लॉज हैं वो बता के दे दो. But did I give you a criteria for it? Did I form a process for it? Did I say कि recent केस लॉज को मिस करना है या फिर पुरानी अगर शुरू करनी है तो वो ओरिजिन ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट से होना चाहिए या फिर वो प्रिवी काउंसिल से होना चाहिए, वो कब से होना चाहिए? तो मैंने आपको एक बहुत ही वेग सी ऑब्लिगेशन में यहाँ पे बाइंड करने की कोशिश की जिसको आपने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया. सो दिस वुड नॉट बी अ वैलिड ऑब्लिगेशन. फिक्टिशियसली एक्सेप्ट किया, आई थिंक अदरवाइज आप शायद नहीं करोगे. बट we definitely have to see that a valid obligation, and again we are not moving to a contract right now, a valid obligation definitely talks about a very concrete or a definite act. Then the next thing that we talk in terms of a valid obligation is in terms of a legal obligation per se, that it has to relate to legal matters, or it has to relate to those matters where parties can be bound. Just the same thing that just the same fashion that we have discussed before, but in a different form together. पहले point में हमने vagueness of that obligation के बारे में discuss किया, और दूसरे point में हम ये देखते हैं कि it has to be with respect to a matter within which the parties can be bound. So it is not one of those social obligations one has to adhere to, and it need not be something like relating to probably the emotional needs of someone. It has to be more about more concrete needs with respect to the fulfillment of a valid obligation is concerned. इसको हम बहुत ज्यादा डिस्कस करते हैं अग्रीमेंट्स के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कि सोशल अग्रीमेंट्स और जो लीगल अग्रीमेंट्स होते हैं उनके बीच में क्या डिफरेंस होता है. इसके ऊपर पूरा एक केस लॉज का सीरीज बना हुआ है, मैकग्रेगर वर्सेस मैकग्रेगर, बाल्फोर वर्सेस बाल्फोर. इसको हम डिस्कस करेंगे अपनी अगली क्लास में. बट इस क्लास में उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से एक वैलिड ऑब्लिगेशन एक अग्रीमेंट में कब टर्न हो सकता है, उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम देखते हैं कि वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ अग्रीमेंट्स क्या हैं. Section 2E particularly talks about a legal agreement, that also in the form of a contract. It talks about every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other is an agreement. तो बहुत ही ज्यादा इन्होंने टेक्निकल सी टर्म्स बता दी. प्रॉमिस, सेट ऑफ प्रॉमिस, उसमें यूनिलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी आ गया, बायलैटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी आ गया, एक कंसिडरेशन का एलिमेंट भी आ गया. और जब ये तीनों मिक्स होंगे या कम से कम इनमें से दो चीजें मिक्स होंगी तभी एक वैलिड अग्रीमेंट होगा. बट अगर हम जनरल सेंस में बात करें तो वी सी दैट essentially there are 4 types of agreements. One form of agreement is an agreement which destroys the rights and obligations of a particular party. So for instance, the release of or surrender of a party to another party is a form of a passive agreement, right? अब जैसे बांग्लादेश वॉर जब खत्म हुई तो जितने भी ये पाकिस्तानी army men थे, they eventually had to surrender. So it was a form of an agreement, but it was a form of a passive agreement. It did have an element of agreement in it, but not the kind of agreement which we would consider in respect of the Indian Contract Act. The second form of agreement is an agreement which transfers rights from one party to other, right? So अब जब हम transferring of rights की बात करते हैं तो यहाँ पर ऑब्लिगेशन का एक एलिमेंट आ जाता है, और जब इस ऑब्लिगेशन के अंदर एक लीगैलिटी, कॉन्क्रीटनेस का एलिमेंट आता है, हम कह सकते हैं कि एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इस फॉर्म ऑफ अग्रीमेंट से बन सकता है. The third form of agreement, which is again not accepted in the Indian Contract Act, is agreements which relate to religious, social, or moral matters. Something very similar to the difference between a civil suit and a suit of a civil nature in your CPC that you have covered till now, right? And finally, the most concrete form of agreements which are covered under the Indian Contract Act are agreements which relate to the creation of legal rights and obligations. So I think इनके ऊपर आपकी बहुत ज्यादा discussion हो चुकी है jurisprudence में. So I'll just cover it in a passive, in a pass off manner in this class per se, because otherwise it's a subject of a lot of debate, but not for the contract class. But जैसे कि हमने obligation के elements देखे, in the same way, essentials of a valid agreement would include almost the same elements. One would be that there must be at least 2 parties. Second is that the agreement must relate to definite act or acts. Third would be it must relate to legal matters. 4 would be there must be an identity or meeting of minds. And 5th would be the parties must communicate the same with each other. अभी तक हमने promise के जितने भी elements पढ़े हैं वो सब के सब इस पर्टिकुलर डेफिनेशन में फिट इन होते हैं, इन 5 एलिमेंट्स में फिट इन होते हैं. द ओनली थिंग दैट इज मिसिंग दैट वी हैव नॉट कवर्ड टिल नाउ इज द एलिमेंट ऑफ कंसिडरेशन. सो वी सी देयर मस्ट बी एटलीस्ट 2 parties. They must agree to a definite act or acts. It must relate to legal matters per se. The parties must have meeting of minds or identity of minds. And finally, the parties must communicate with each other. Now it was a very fast paced lecture. There's only one thing I will leave this lecture at, which is at this particular note, कि अग्रीमेंट के अंदर ये सारे एलिमेंट्स होने के बावजूद भी हम ये कहते हैं that all contracts are agreements, but all agreements are not contracts. So with this suspense, I will end today's class here. We'll take it up for this particular debate in our next class tomorrow. I think we have like another 4 minutes. So anyone wants to discuss anything? No? All of you are too tired. You're thinking आज class जल्दी खत्म हो रही है, so let's take a break. One second. No suspense. Okay, Pragya, great. Anyone else wants to? Anyone has any doubts with today's lecture, guys? We have reached a great achievement. हमने सेक्शन 9 तक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट को खत्म कर लिया है और आपके कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पोर्शन यहाँ पर आके खत्म हो गया. सो एलिमेंट्स ऑफ अ वैलिड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू टेक forward in the next class. हम इसे शुरू करेंगे again difference between agreements and contracts and what are those kind of agreements which are legally enforceable and hence are contracts in our next class tomorrow, and then we'll take up the various elements of a valid contract, preferably starting with the element of consideration. Any questions still here?
I have a question, not regarding the contracts. It's absolutely not related to this. So I've asked you this question pehle also. But I'm asking again because I got to know from somewhere that for 1 year all government jobs, like openings will be less.
Okay.
Or whatever, because of the whole scenario that is going on.
No, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. आप देख रहे हो बार जो ऑल इंडिया बार एग्जाम है वो भी नोटिफाई हो गया है.
हाँ, वो तो आ गया है.
So then you are completely falling in false rumors. और आपकी इतनी अच्छी यहाँ पे जुडिशरी की कम्युनिटी बनी हुई है, आप इससे बाहर मत जाओ. बहुत लोग ऐसे होते हैं. आपने बहुत सारे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस देखे होंगे जहाँ पे लोगों को लगता है मैक्सिमम वो तभी सीखते हैं जब क्लास खत्म होती है और वो घंटा क्लास के नीचे लगाते हैं. तो मतलब one of the very big advantages of online classes is that you don't get to waste your time on such things. तो इन सब चक्कर में मत पड़ो. Your single-minded sole focus and aim is that you have to crack the DJS and the Haryana judiciary. So I know Haryana judiciary has notified that they're not coming out with the exam this year, but it has absolutely nothing to do with COVID. It has more to do with vacancies. आपकी exams की notifications vacancies के basis पे निकलती हैं. It like अभी तक thankfully COVID ने इन चीजों को impact नहीं किया. तो आप देखोगे कि UPSC prelims postpone हुआ है पर वो cancel नहीं हुआ. तो अभी तक ऐसी situation नहीं आई है. किसी भी गवर्नमेंट रिलेटेड कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम को लेकर.
Okay, ma'am.
One question, ma'am.
Yeah.
Related to the CPC, module. So, would it be possible to cover the maximum part of CPC in upcoming 1 or 2 months?
Yes, definitely. So, see, I would assure you one thing. That everything that is there on your LMS is more than sufficient. आपको कोई बुक देखने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको किसी और कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूशन के नोट्स देखने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको उन नोट्स के अलावा कुछ भी देखने की जरूरत नहीं है. It is just that CPC is a very mechanical subject. If you read it out of interest and you can really understand what it says, 1 month is more than sufficient for it. क्योंकि usually अगर आपको कोई भी और advice दें in terms of any other notes that you should refer to, वो सबसे पहले आपको बोलेंगे कि आप खुद के नोट्स बनाओ बैठ के. वही आपको 1 महीना ले लेगा. यहाँ पर आपके पास नोट्स बने हुए हैं और लेक्चर्स भी अगेन लाइक वी आर एट इट, हम प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं आपको. तो वो बहुत मैकेनिकल है, वो बहुत बोरिंग है. इसलिए वी हैव टू सॉर्ट ऑफ एम्फसाइज अपॉन द नीड ऑफ लाइव क्लासेस ताकि आप एक एक्टिव डिस्कशन में एंटर कर सको. हैविंग सेड दैट आपकी एलएमएस में जो मटेरियल है वो मोर देन सफिशिएंट है अगर आप इसे सेल्फ पेस बनाना चाहते हो और खुद से पढ़ना चाहते हो.
So it's just a suggestion. If we do CPC classes, live classes on alternate days or like on daily basis, you can say 4 or 5 times in year.
As of now, we are giving juris around 6 hours and we are giving CPC 4 hours. तो वो 2 घंटे का डिफरेंस है. वो भी इसलिए कि हम ये चाह रहे हैं कि लॉकडाउन के अंदर जुरिस जो है वो किसी तरह से खत्म हो जाए. See, हमें as such कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है CPC को उस पेस पे लाने का जिस पेस पे आप बोल रहे हो. दैट मीन्स कि हम CPC को 2 घंटे एक्स्ट्रा दे दें. But the entire class is not in consensus with it. I've got, after that entire discussion the other day, I got a very mixed opinion of the same. So I'm not sure कि अगर मैं उसको एक ही ओपिनियन पे या 2 ही लोगों के ओपिनियन पे आई कैन चेंज इट अकॉर्डिंगली. आई थिंक दैट इज नॉट डूइंग जस्टिस टू अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर प्रिपेयरिंग jurors as well. That is one. Second is that again matlab with respect to CPC, see it's a very mechanical subject, trust me. मैंने ही वो pre-recorded videos बनाई हैं और मैं आपको एक point से बोलूँ, like after I made those videos I wanted to be like, just give me a substantial law to teach. I cannot do this. I don't want to do this. So we don't want the same impact to come on our students also कि वो सोचे कि ये इतना मैकेनिकल कॉन्सेप्ट है, हम तंग आ गए इससे, हमें कुछ और दो करने को. Trust me, it happens. We have experienced it before and that's the reason why we have kept CPC where it is. But हाँ, जैसे ही थोड़ा consensus इस पे और build up होता है, we absolutely don't mind. We want कि सब लोग जो भी इस कोर्स में एनरोल कर रहे हैं वो एग्जाम क्लियर करें. तो जैसा आप लोग बोलोगे हम वैसा कर देंगे, पर अभी उसकी तरफ पूरी तरह से कंसेंसस नहीं.
Yes, I agree. But the only thing is, if we do CPC classes on regular basis for 6 hours, and then JDS classes in the weekend for 2 hours or 3 hours in a day, so it would help us to because a CPC syllabus is very vast. So,
Also, yourself think you are a working professional. आप जो वीकेंड्स पे दे पाते हो सीपीसी में, जो अटेंशन आप तब दे पाते हो, आपके लिए वीकडेज में आप उतना ही वो हाफ एनर्जी से दोगे.
But this time is a COVID situations. We are not, focus on our official work.
That is the only reason why we want to finish jurors, कि हमारा एक पूरा सब्जेक्ट ही लॉकडाउन के अंदर खत्म हो जाए. तो एटलीस्ट जो लोग जिनके एग्जाम्स में जूरस आ रहा है, कम से कम उनको कॉन्फिडेंस रहेगा कि उनका एक पूरा सब्जेक्ट कवर हो गया है. हैविंग सेड दैट, विद सीपीसी अगेन 90% ऑफ सीपीसी is on the LMS. Yes, it needs to be organized. I understand that. But आप अपना वो जो CPC का पहला लेक्चर देखोगे ना ओवरव्यू का, या फिर जो तारिक अहमद ने भी सेकंड लेक्चर लिया है जिसमें उन्होंने ओवरव्यू डिस्कस किया है, उसके अंदर यू रियलाइज कि हमने आपको एक पूरा चार्ट बना के दिया कि आपको CPC पढ़नी कैसे है. आप उन ऑर्डर्स को, उन नोट्स को फॉलो कर सकते हो और साथ के साथ अपना CPC साइड बाय साइड कवर कर सकते हो. तो with CPC also you will realize that there are times when 1 hour is not sufficient. हमें तो jurors के लिए 1 hour is not getting sufficient. But I am getting very mixed opinions from the entire class. Now some people are telling me कि आपने सारी major laws उठा ली हैं. How do you expect us to cover it? And there are some people who are saying कि हमारी pace इससे ज़्यादा तेज हो सकती है, तो classes की pace fasten करो. We just have to make a balance between the two. And again, like I agree with your opinion, but we need consensus on it. Like there are around 15-16 people on this group now. We need to go with everyone, and right now not everyone is comfortable with CPC every day. The moment that situation arises, we'll do it. We have absolutely no issues in going ahead with this.
So we can do the voting in our class if everybody is agree
इतना अच्छा
to
सब पढ़
continue.
रहे हैं, सबको मजा आ रहा है, इतनी अच्छी क्लासेस हो रही है, सबको पढ़ाने में इतना मजा आ रहा है, क्यों पोलिटिसाइज कर रहे हो? चलने दो थोड़ी देर, तुम अपनी तैयारी करो सीपीसी की. जब तुम्हें लगे कि तुम अपनी पेस पासन कर सकते हो, हम कर देंगे, हम सीपीसी रेगुलर कर सकते हैं. वी हैव नो इश्यूज. ठीक है,
Okay.
चलो, ग्रेट. एनीवन एल्स?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great guys. So happy dinner and good night. Let's meet in constitution class for tomorrow. Thank you.